You.
Testing.
So I'll leave that on, and then where does this go?
Somewhere up by
Can you clip me, please? Yeah. Here.
Would you say it should be?
Wow. Hello, hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Oh, I need my glasses. I need my glasses. And how long do you want me to do?
We need to be done by 11.
Oh my God, no, that's not gonna be that long. Okay.
But
Yeah.
any 45 minutes would be fine.
Okay.
Whatever.
Do you want to introduce me or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to Timbercrest Chapel. Delighted to have Beate Gilliar here. If you've heard her before, I'm sure that's partly why you're here again. And she models, at least this is what I haven't had that many experiences, but the first time I really saw her in action at the BIA with two students and dealt with depression. And I was uniquely impressed and appreciated how she was able to involve them in a gentle, gracious way. And it's soon she had them sharing very personally in this very open spirit. But what a way to deal with the topic of depression in that kind of personal way. Now, she was scheduled here back in January, and some things were a little bit shaky in our world. And now I think it may be even more so. So, needing people like Beata to share life and light and those upbeat things, we need that. And she's been professor at Manchester University for over 30 years, and she has a whole lot of ways she could go. Her experience coming from Germany, international scenes, and here at Timbercrest, as many people have seen her work scattered here and there, you may have seen it now. You can meet the artist yourself. So these little art exhibits. Any questions at this point? I think you'll find that you'll expect some of your good questions and answers and things like that along the way. But now it's my wonderful privilege to present to you Beate Gilliar.
I'm so pleased and thank you so much. And I don't think that I welcome you. Yes, ooh la la. Très bon, merci. Okay, how do I start? I don't have a script. I only have ideas. And I must say, this is rather daunting when I look at the title of this, Cultivating Life and Light. For me, education is light, and it's life. And art, because if I didn't have art, I wouldn't be who I am. And I'm very grateful to know that my sparkles reach the world, because I remember when Karen was at breast diagnostic, and she saw one of my sparkles. And it was an amazing time. And then knowing that other people also witnessed the fact that my sparkle spread some light means a lot to me. If you don't have a sparkle yet, I have to admit about 16 in my trunk, ready for this, and then I couldn't come here in January and the people and it kind of disappeared. But I would be glad. I don't think you have a little bit of an issue. I know it's not. But I would be glad to just hold it on the phone. This seems to be going off and on. Maybe the batteries. Okay. All right. Thank you. So, and I also forgot. I want to thank you. I wanted to bring some newspapers from the openings because they covered an unveiling. And that's my tribute to Manchester, to my tribute in visual representation of what I think Manchester is. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is this better? I just feel like I'm too loud. Okay. Yeah. So there's a tribute of mine to Manchester University, and it's in ASON Academic Center on the first floor. Right now, we have an exhibit to honor Earth Day. It's really beautiful. Okay. This is not me. Okay. Thank you so much for trying to accommodate, but I think we are doing okay. So if you have a chance to go into the hall and just cherish the artwork that's along there will be more pieces of mine. This is more sound than light. Okay.
Let's try this now.
Okay. Thank you.
We're getting too
Everybody awake? Okay. All right. Yes. I think this may be the trick. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. Little background noise. Okay. And it's really, I have to say, being here in this incredibly sacred space means a lot to me. So if you have a chance to go to the university and enjoy the artwork in honor of Earth Day, I think you will really, really enjoy it. Is this okay? Can you hear me now? Because I feel like, is it still? Awesome. Maybe I should just hold it like this. Okay, I will do it. It's mine. Yeah. Okay. And there's some pieces that I did. I discovered, or art discovered me about 8 years ago, like a long, long time before. And if you want to read the article in the newspaper, latest Oakleaf, then you can find out more about me. So art is important. Music is important. My faith is important. I grew up Catholic, and I embrace all religions and faith. I think there is a great deep power in prayer, and I want to thank both of you and your foremothers and forefathers. There was a day in my life when I didn't see the light, and that was on the 24th of July, 1995. I wanted to die. I was in the hospital. I had a really bad accident. I broke both my feet. I have titanium plates in my neck, and the doctors told me I could never dance or walk. I would be wheelchair, and I was in a wheelchair for quite some time. I only missed 2 days of teaching, and Vicodin and I were really good friends. And because I thought I had a lot of problems, and it just didn't go anywhere. And I said, my goodness, I thought I had to be at 0% in bed. I couldn't move. And I thought, how could I let the nurse know, please call Jack Kavorkian in Michigan and get him here ASAP. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have his number, so I couldn't call. And plus, I wasn't allowed to move. But I knew my number from my phone card. And I couldn't do it. So, but that day, what I found out later, there were 4 groups of prayer circles. One in Tucson, because that's where my alma mater is. That's where I went to school. That's where I received my bachelor's, my 2 masters, and my PhD. So there was a prayer circle there. There was a prayer circle in Germany. There are actually 2 prayer circles in Germany, and one here from Crest. And I remember, I absolutely, not that this was proof of prayer. I knew it exists. Prayer is incredibly important. So for me, prayer is definitely light. About my biography, talking about light, death. Death is an important topic in my life. Has always been, because in that accident, I was very grateful to have had a near-death experience. Something I just learned about like 2 months beforehand. I didn't even know what it was. And through the fortuitous coincidence with a poet from Oklahoma City, where the attack occurred in 1995, you may know about that building. And we talked about this, and I got really to reading about near-death experiences. But I had one in my accident, which happened on 114.
I was out and I saw my dead brother. My brother, Ocho, who was the firstborn in the family of four. I had three brothers. I still have two. Um, I saw my brother, and I was denied to be at his funeral because that was a decision that they had made because he drowned from ice skating. And I found out about his death the day after he was buried, which is very devastating, followed by a beautiful letter that my father wrote, the phone call. But it was really hard for me. So I got really interested in death practices and my own grief and understanding that not trusting my parents or anybody who really prevented me from knowing this. Um, just overcame. But it was hard because it was a wrong decision. When somebody dies as close as my brother, I want to be there to say goodbye. So I'm grateful that I have his letters and our exchanges. He was brilliant. He was a theologian. He studied theology, and he actually thought at one point to join the priesthood. So he has a very religious bent. He was working on his PhD. So he drowned, and so in my near-death experience, I was floating on the level of my hip, and I wanted to be with him, and he was standing like this. Just wanted to float behind him and join him, and he just didn't let me. So I came out, and the first thing I said, please cut off my feet because they were really hurting like crazy. So I mean, these are moments, and I feel I shouldn't be talking about me. I should be talking about students because they are my light, and they continue to be my lights. They thrive with challenges and emotional distress, abuse, stories that are hidden. And Manchester really does a great job giving them the light of hope through education. So I have incidents with students who come and share with me. I said, why are you so interested in education? You're very dedicated. Um, so because I needed to stay at school as long as I could. So I took after hours, like sometimes even went home with a teacher who fed me because I didn't want to go home. Because at home, what would expect me would be horrible. So that's my light, my stories, my being, I guess. So a death is really exciting because we all face death. So I hosted events on campus years ago before COVID. I didn't want to do it during COVID, plus we didn't know how to teach. And that was really eye-opening because I taught a class the very first time. I call it Death and Other Endings. Because when relationships end, when you're realizing the end of illness or sickness or health, hope for beginning or the end of health, how do you deal with this in a relationship? No more married, you're moving out, you're going to college. What do the endings indicate? And I just want to point out maybe some highlights. And the class was taught in the library upstairs, and we hosted several stations in the library with informative kiosks about can animals grieve. That was research questions. Students were put in groups according to their interests. And one of them, as I said, was, how do animals grieve? What do other cultures do when they bury their dead? So that was another wonderful, fascinating one. But then I also endeavored, after doing a lot of research, I thought, why not have a casket on campus? And when I was asked at the beginning, we were all asked, faculty meeting, everybody was asked, like, what's your goal for the semester? And I said, my goal for the semester is to have a casket on campus. Very daunting. And so I explained why. And to make a long story short, I want to have a contemplation corner in the library because I did a lot of research and I found out that people, if you humanize that experience of dying, it's not the alien, it's not so distant anymore. And there were places in Germany where they hosted the coffins in the city hall, and it was more for funeral services that they were advertising for that. So for me, it was a contemplation corner because they also said sometimes people get in the coffin and they sit there and they make fun and they celebrate people who are cancer ridden, they're stage 4. And they said, this is how I want you to remember. So I thought that was really empowering. So I had a team and we worked on this. And we had this casket in the library. It was hidden, we call it contemplation corner. You had to take your shoes off. You could sit next to the coffin and just contemplate the death of a beloved or somebody else. And then one time I took my students down and I just said, I just want to be respectful. I want you to all be in silence. I just recognize the power of us not being here at one point or anything else that makes you think about death. So there are students there who just survived a suicide from a friend or the grandmother died. Students who were extremely scared about death. And I tried to make it as palpable as I can. And we stood there, and I will never forget one of the students put her arm around me, and she said, "This is the most powerful moment in my education." Because when I entered this class, I was really, really afraid of death. And I didn't think that I would get through this class. So she was open in awe about this. And then it happened. Madison, she lost her brother in a car accident 2 years ago. I'll never forget that. And she said that class probably empowered her more about death than anything else could. So these are marginal comments. That was not it's not a course objective to help a student in anticipation of losing a brother through a horribly tragic accident. But when these things come out, I'm really, really, really grateful. So the students highlight. Another student I would like to highlight is Sarah Kirchhoff. She was taught at home, homeschooled. Then she was a valedictorian in Warsaw, and she came to Manchester. And she was so brilliant. And the very first time I met her, she was working at the sandwich cellar. And I said, Sarah, I've heard a lot of things about you. I've never had you in class. But from what I hear, you would be really a great lawyer one day. She said, oh no, they're all crooks, quote. And then she could have thrived in all subjects, whether it would have been math or she was interested in business. Long story short, she graduated with a degree, double degree in French and English. She was in the Fez in Morocco for a year during her semester, and then she received her degree, and then she got a Fulbright. Oh, that's when she went to Morocco. Long story short, she sent me an email when she was accepted, but she had her LSAT, 99%, which is amazing. And then she ended up at Harvard Law School. So, but then students who come here first generation who don't have a lot of trust in them, I help them too. There's nothing more joyous when I see them walk that stage. Sometimes I think they could have benefited from taking yet another class. Um, so it gives me joy. So as soon as I enter my classroom, it's the classroom, and it's not has nothing to do with me anymore. I wanted to just, if you don't mind, because I read prayers, I read Losen, German texts. They're usually from the Bible, and um, I just wanted to read the one for today from a book, if you don't mind. Is that okay? It says it's by Joan Baroseco, and it's by Pocket Full of Miracles. And it says prayers, meditations, and affirmations. That's another light of me because without words, my life would be nothing. Um, okay, I'm going to read two parts. The first one reads Seed Thought. A teaching story from the Zen tradition concerns two monks walking by a river swollen with spring rain. A woman in a long dress is stranded, unable to cross. So the first monk lifts her into the air and carries her across. Several hours later, the second monk turns to his friend, filled with anger and judgment about how monks aren't even supposed to touch women, let alone carry them. The first monk smiles gently, quote, My brother, I put that woman down on the other side of the river early this morning. You have carried her all day, quote. It reminds me also of the strand of the beach story. You see the footsteps, the print. smart. So the prayer, Great Spirit, let me go into this day with awareness and the intention to let go of judgments about other people. Help me notice if I start tearing down someone else to build myself up. Let my intention to be mindful and kind expand into the state of inner bliss that grows organically from a generous spirit. So I like that too. Just letting go is another part of light. I think. Um, you get caught, you get upset, you watch the news, you see, my goodness, I've done a lot of research on German history. I have wondered how could the Nazi regime ever happen? Why didn't anybody get up? I talked to a Holocaust survivor in Fort Wayne when I was at the temple, who's an artist. He was a architect in Fort Wayne, and he said, "You just see it, you get the answer now. Watch the news." It's disparaging. It's very disillusioning. And then I wonder what can I do? I can only teach my students. Like today, just the class before I came here, I'm teaching Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. You may know about it. It's a fantastic book. Chinua Achebe says this book is not just fictional, it's really telling the story about the Igbo and how they were colonized. So I asked my students, I put 3 items on the board. I said, "Do you know who Nelson Mandela is?" Nobody knew. I put the name Idi Amin because I wanted to do something about Africa. Idi Amin, they didn't know either. And then I put the word apartheid down, and I thought at least there has to be somebody in class who may have heard it. I was really shocked. So I take this as an opportunity to bring light to their life because they did yes. So when you think about advertising for apartheid, if you think about certain connections with exploitation and reification, that's what I call it, to make people into things, happened during the Third Reich. Who is the scapegoat? We know. So I see that as my task of making maybe the world just a little bit better to inform them. I'm very grateful to see people up in the streets and say there has to be some pushback. It's scary. Many of my friends who wanted to come and visit, they're not coming. The rate of people coming to the United States and as guests, as visitors, has dramatically downhill. So, I mean, the impact, I think we are only going to see, but it's scary because Project 2025, just like Mein Kampf, you would have known what's going to happen. So I'm this little me, and I said, what can I do? Okay, my range is in my classroom. And what do I do to bring light is focus on what I can do. I cannot change the world. I cannot change and be mad and upset and be negative. My big scare, because I think about the Cultural Revolution in China, and I think about what happened during the Nazi regime between 1933 and 1945. It's like my fear is a monolithic knowledge making machine that tells us what we have to teach in the classes. We already now alarmed and told, teach slavery, teach both sides of slavery, teach both sides, not at the university here, but this is the overall national educational thrust. Teach both sides to the Holocaust. Excuse me, there are no two sides to the Holocaust. And there are no two sides to slavery. But this is the infiltration of what's happening. McMahon, when she was asked and she was talking about the sauce, A1 instead of AI. I don't know whether you saw that interview. I said, the level of ignorance is kind of getting more and more closer to purgatory in my mind. And so I have an even more important obligation to issue something that my students will that will help them to critically think. But it's also in the system. When you teach high school students not to critically think, but just know the answers to a test, that's not critical thinking. And that's one of our thrusts in Manchester, that we make them into critical thinkers. So I try to do that. I connect art with music and writing and history, of course. And then I'm very privileged because I grew up in Germany, knowing a little bit more maybe. Today I got a note, a very nice note from a student. She said, he or she, I don't know from the name, Erasmus students. I so want to be in class. Can you do anything that I can be enrolled in the class? And the class is not here at Manchester, but it's a class that I teach. I've taught several classes for the University of Freiburg. It's an elite university in Germany. And before COVID, I taught in person. And now I teach online, which is really nice. So I don't depend on the train. I don't have to pay for the hotel room. And I do it out of my bedroom. I mean, more or less. And now I committed myself to doing it 6 hours apart. So I cannot add the student to me, but it's a great joy to know at one time there were 38 people on the waiting list. I'm like, yeah. Um, that gives me joy, that gives me light because I get the privilege to teach students from all over Europe, and they're the best. I mean, they tell me when they go into their first class, they're told 75% of you will not be here at the end of the semester. It's so competitive. It's incredibly competitive. And then having these remarkable persons, physicists, um, uh, master's students, undergraduate students from all different disciplines, embedded engineering, digital media. I had somebody from Turkey, and then when they say, "I'm not going to be in class next week because I'm traveling to Switzerland and I'm working on a project," or "I'm going to go to Cyprus because I have to go on a dig, so I'm not going to be here next week." The excuses are very different. It's not like, I have a family event going, and I'm like, okay. Or to go to a green festival. I thought that was really great. He's going to he's a young journalist, and he was working for a newspaper already. And he said, "I'm going to a green festival, a green music festival in England. So I'm not going to be here next week." I cannot say no. I said, okay. So and they're young people. And that's the nice thing about teaching. You really don't get older. You have the same, students stay like up to 23, 24. When it becomes dangerous, it's like when they come into a class, they say, "My mom, who took an honors class with you, she says hi." I'm like, okay, Cora, thank you very much. So it's nice to see them, the generations like Miriam Erbaugh, it's the daughter of Wendy Nofsinger. And yeah, so it's nice to see this because I don't have that. I'm not married. Yeah, I was close to. That's why I had the connection with Freiburg. I was bored, and then I bumped into the university, and I thought, well, maybe I get interested in what they're doing. And that was the year when they started to change the system in Germany so that we had bachelor's and master's. Because before that, we had a different system in Germany. And so I went to the English department, and I said, "Oh, could you use me?" Long story short, and then that's when they hired me, and now I'm working for a more central part of the university, and I'm very grateful. Some of these, and for me, gratefulness, I would say gratefulness is my rootedness. It's grateful, I'm here. Would I have ever been afforded the same opportunities in Germany? Absolutely not. At the time when I started at the University of Freiburg, only 17% of the faculty were female. So it has increased, it's better. So in terms of the light, do I have dark spaces in my life? Absolutely, in my life also. I regret that I don't get to see my brothers. I still have two brothers. He was my, okay, both my model. We're all each other's model, maybe not so much me, but my brother Wolfgang Gilliar, he is a dean which is kind of interesting. He is a dean of a medical school at Touro University in Nevada, so it's outside Las Vegas. And I visited him, and he has a son. He's divorced, and his son is in Switzerland because his ex-wife is Swiss. So I got to visit him, and it's incredibly difficult for us to align our schedules because my younger brother, Marcus Gilliar, he is a world-class photojournalist, and he is always out and about. And last year, I said, "Marcus, I want to see you even just for one day." We figured out it must be the 25th of May. I rushed. And he said, "I can't really see you because FIFA asked him to take pictures earlier. And that was the year of the European Championship. And it was also the year of the Olympics. So I had to go to Paris. So, but I was able to see him one afternoon. And this year, I'm glad to report, We're going to be seeing each other on June, I think the 12th. That's when the only day when the three of us can get together because Marcus is traveling and they're going on a vacation also, he and his wife. So these are my lights. I'm very, very blessed that I'm, like a sister, and both of them had health scares within the last year. 2017. And I'm very glad to report my brother Marcus, upon asking him for many, many years to show his work and present some of his photographs here, covering the last all like for 30 years, the last Olympics and World Cups, except he was not in Japan because that was during COVID. But he covered it all, and he never thought, well, people are more interested in football, but there are so many who are also interested in soccer, and there are a lot of students on campus that are they follow my brother online. They would come, oh, did you see your brother? He was hit by this Sergio Ramos. He's a really famous Spanish football player, and he knocked my brother almost over. It went viral, and I said, oh my, I was really upset with him. And then he apologized to my brother, and he sent him a jersey. And my students told me, and I said, oh, did you see this? And when he was at the Olympics, he has some really, really, really great video coverage of LeBron Jackson and then LeBron James and then the gymnast, Simone Biles. I mean, some of them made it actually into Time magazine. CNN covered it, and he had one of the first pictures on how the safety guards were up on the roofs. That was one of the first pictures covered that. So that was, yeah. So I'm very, very proud of my brothers. And you want to remark this in your calendars on the 22nd of September, the Monday, from 11 to 11:50. He and his wife are going to be here, and he's going to do a presentation on his work. And he'll take pictures and he'll talk to classes about journalism, digital media, whatever. So I'm really grateful for that. And I have to put in another plug, magic. Magic will happen. I was able to get a magician to come here. His name is Dr. Madras. He's also really, he's a scientist also. I met him at my brother's birthday when my brother turned 60. But he always likes magicians, so he invited this really fabulous German magician, and we made it possible at Manchester so that he is coming here on the 5th of May, and you will not want to miss it because it's just magic. It's not like dots flying off or hats lifting. It's very, very smart. It's very, very great. So I hope that you can come. So I don't know why, but other people have all these pictures of their families and their daughters and their grandchildren. Well, I don't have that. This is on my desk. I love this picture. This is my dad and my brother Otto, Wolfgang, and my mom, and me, and Marcus. It's in Austria when we were on vacation. He had a VW Beetle. And I'm like, and my brother said, we never went on vacation all together. I said, what would the parents do? Where would they put us? They put us on the car. We were all together. My grandmother was wonderful. But, we were all in so we had a Beetle, 4 people, 2 parents, and going to Switzerland and Yugoslavia and Austria and whatnot. And so here, and my parents, they were both church musicians. My mother played the organ, and I actually studied music for a little while. So we always went to music camps in the summer. Not always the greatest thing, but we learned a lot about music. And this is my family. This is not our dog. We're in a hotel or something. The San Berna, but we loved it. My mother. This is my mother, always being really careful. Very protective. Both my parents, of course, have survived the war. My mother was from the Czech Republic. She was kicked out in 1946. I asked, you have 50 kilograms that you can take. And then she settled in Germany. And my father, it's a wonderful story, but this is a light story. I'm going to share that because it's wonderful. And I found my father's journal recorded my mother. And my mother also wrote in it. And in the middle of the book, I thought, I wish I would have seen the book when my father was still alive. But for reasons, I guess, he wasn't there. Because I said, Dad, 2 years you courted her. Why did you give up? She was kind of stubborn. But what happened, and I like that story, we were waiting for the train, my mother going in one direction because she taught music at the music academy. after the war, and my father had an accordion orchestra, and he was standing at the railway at the platform, and there was somebody he knew, and she was talking to my mother, and my dad walked up to the other lady, said, "Wouldn't you want to introduce me to this young lady there?" Yeah. So they realized I have music together. They shared that interest. And then my dad told the young lady that the accordion orchestra, she plays accordion if she needs to join. And so that's how the connection happened. Needless to say, my father did not go into the original play. He changed his path on the train and accompanied her. That was the beginning of a really interesting relationship. When my brother asked my parents about bringing girlfriends, wasn't a normal my father things. And my father always had the standard answer. And he said, what connects you and your mom is our faith and our music. And that's the legacy that I have continued and I try to continue. Um, because I think it's I sometimes I'm sad when I meet people and they say there's just nothing there. I know there is something greater here. And I'm really grateful for that spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it comes through when I paint. I pray, I meditate, and I try to enliven that also when I'm in my classrooms because that's all I can do. And I'm very, very grateful. I had other job offers. I could be California, I could be in New York or in New Jersey, and I chose to come here. Um, and it was another coincidence, but it's long to talk about it. And Rowan Daggett was one of the most amazing persons because when I came to interview, she just asked me to sit down and talk. She said, when you teach this class, and when, not if. And then I met, I didn't know that, but Leland Beer. My sympathies go out. I don't know, but you pray no, Maureen? Yeah. Okay. That reminds me of another event I can highly recommend you attend. It's going to be on the 29th of September. I was very privileged to be at the temple in Fort Wayne when they had that Hashem, um, the Yom HaShoah. I'm sorry, the Yom HaShoah service just a few days ago. I was there celebrating the 6 million Jews who died, and she gave a talk. She's a Holocaust survivor. She's 94 years old. She's a public speaker, and her name is Irene Miller. I'm really glad I heard that. So I said, oh, okay. Irene Miller. Yeah. So, I can highly recommend. She's a public speaker. You can go online and she wrote a book about her. She grew up in Warsaw, in Poland, and then she went to the Soviet Union. Then she was in an orphanage in Uzbekistan. Then she went to Israel, and then she went to Michigan. And so she will be. Oh, it's going to blow you. So these are lights coming into my life, and since I try to stay awake to everything that I can learn. Do you have any questions for me? Because we are nearing the end, right? No questions? Okay, I'm going to say something. I didn't know what I would first. Okay, on Monday, when you look at my right arm, I was in Lagrange. I'd never been in Lagrange before. And the night before, I spent in the Essen House because just about, not even a week ago, at 11:22, I received probably the worst piece of information.
ever in my life. I got a call from the clinic because in the morning I was there. I didn't feel well, and there were some indications of the blood, etc. So, to make a long story short, I was diagnosed with cancer. That was just a week ago. Less than a week ago. So what do you do? It hits you in the face. And I was like, oh my God, now what am I going to do? Because my presentation is on the 24th. I want to do my presentation because I don't want to postpone it. That was one of my first thoughts. And they said, well, you have to go be checked out, etc. So you have to do certain tests. And then they said, I really rushed the whole thing. I just moved everything really, really quickly, and I'm really glad I was able to do that. So, and then they said, well, we're going to try to remove it all. It's bladder cancer. And it really hit me a little hard. But not, you just think about it, go through the stages, all the stuff that I know about death. And then I found awe in it. I said, I'm going to learn about cancer because I don't know much about it. And I have students and I have friends who died of it. And then I thought, it's everything is a learning opportunity. And one of my students, Emily Budnick, she gave a presentation yesterday and it's about cancer. And I did tell her, I don't tell people because it's pretty private and then I don't want to get emails, oh, how are you doing? I don't have the energy. And she had this fantastic conversation with me. She recommended some books and I thought, look at this. She's graduating. She's one of the most brilliant young women I've met. She's getting a double PhD in pharmaconomics and pharmacology, I think. It's a PhD and a PD. So I don't know the in St. Louis. But we had this great conversation, and I thought, look at this. I'm learning from my students like that, and I'm always learning from my students. So then yesterday they said we'll call you on Wednesday to secure the date when you have your surgery. It's going to be either at 4 o'clock or 12. But if it's at 12, it's like today, right? You have to be at the hospital at 10. And I'm like, oh, why didn't it be at 10? Because at 10 o'clock, I'm supposed to be here. So yesterday, around 3:20, I got a call from the hospital. And they said, your surgery is at 4 today. So I said, good. So I can be here. So I'm glad I'm here. It reminds me a little bit. I had knee surgery. I had meniscus surgery, and I became a citizen, okay, of the United States. It was one of the proudest moments. And it was on a Friday when I was supposed to to become naturalized. So my date was set, and I was very lucky to still do it because it was before Christmas. And I managed everything. And I said to the insurance, and I said, I really need to have a surgery on Thursday. And so they did my meniscus. The next day, I was driving myself to Indianapolis to get my. I got, okay, I was wearing a skirt and covered up. See it. But I wanted to wear a skirt when I got that. So I'm pretty, I guess, feisty. I don't know. Well, I learn a few things here or there. So, anyways, I don't know if that was what you wanted to hear or whether you want to have a lot of. Should I have some pictures of my life? The desert is really important for me. Since I went to the University of Arizona, I loved the desert. I learned a lot. It was 10 years, 11 years, getting my master's, my 2 masters, my bachelor's, and my PhD. That really also shaped me who I am because I had a lot of friends who are Native Americans. And one of my students, and I'm very proud of that, Bill Brown, he is now a theology professor, well, he's like my age older in Decatur, Georgia. We reconnected about 3 years ago, and he's just a fabulous human being. He's at Princeton at the theological seminary, and they made their students take German, so he could study in Germany. And he got a Fulbright. He got he got some other even better scholarship. And his home is in Tucson. His father was a professor of agricultural sciences, and he came to my table and he said, "You are going to be saving my life." I said, "How?" Because I have to sign up for your class in the summer, intense German. I taught intense German for many, many years. So in 2 semesters or 2 sessions in the summer, you learn as much as in 2 years. So it's super intense. So if you need any help with German, I still can do that. I have a master's in it too. Not that that matters. I don't care about it, degrees. And then I reconnected with him, and he actually gave a talk
like on the 31st of October 2022, I think they give it up. And his daughter Ella, she's going to be here on the 6th of October. She's an astrophysicist. She's 30 years old. And I met her and I thought, my God, she's amazing. And from an astrophysicist, she's interested in primates. And you may know the movie Gorillas in the Mist, right? She does that research. She was again in Rwanda. She gave one presentation for us in VIA, and so she got more grant money. So she's coming back on the 6th of October. The reason I know that is because I'm on the VIA team. So she's going to be talking about, we call it gorillas in the midst. So she's going to talk about her research. And I've seen some amazing pictures that she took. It's really up in the mountains. So that's light. I mean, I would never want to do that. Go up there, not know what the gorilla does. And I think he bit her, but she doesn't want me. Her father told me not to mention that. And I was like, yeah, I know. Okay, I'm gonna mention that. So, look at the arm. I don't know, but yeah. So he shared some pictures because the government in Rwanda doesn't want you to publicize. DeGeneres, what's her name? DeGeneres. What's her first name? Ellen DeGeneres. She has a research center. She founded that there. She makes it possible that people can go there and do research. And if you want to actually go up and see them, see the gorillas, you have to go on a tour and you have to pay like $2,000. Right now, probably 3,000 or 10,000. The terrorists, right? Extra gorilla terrorists. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. So in honor of that, my goodness, I feel so honored. I hope I didn't waste your time too much. So I think we're at the end, right? No questions? You can always visit me. I can give you a tour. And I was very grateful that you were in my home with your daughters. I had the honor and privilege of meeting your daughters. And then, of course, I know Mary, my wonderful colleagues. In memory, because we move on. Yeah, I do miss Wilson. I miss people, but I'm in here. It's just lovely. I want to thank you very, very much. Blessings to you. And on you go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's just a well bubbling over. We haven't heard the end of the stories. Thank you for being here. I'm sure that little personal conversations yet on the way out here. That way, yes. Thank you again. Thank you. And the peace of the Lord be with you and all the other challenges that continue to come to your life, which you turn into opportunities for learning and teaching, shedding more light and life around. Thank you, and keep that journey going.
My students say, you should write your story. I know my story. I've lived my story several times. I don't need to write it, but so I asked them to give me questions that they want me to answer in a book. And so I've been working on this for years because I'm journaling. I've been doing journaling, something in my family, and I've journaled since I was 13. I still have those journals, and one day, I've been working on this throughout, but my goal is to sit there with a really nice Mont Blanc pen inside the book, and I already know what the cover looks like. Okay, thank you.
Peace.